Okay. Good evening, friends. Nice to be back again this evening. Our speaker this evening is Miss Clemice Pretter. Many of us know Clemice, but for those who are going to hear Clemice for the first time, I'll briefly introduce Clemice to you. Clemice is from Brazil, and she chanced upon Krishnamurti's teachings in Theosophical Society in Brazil, and she was greatly touched, and then she made a trip to India and came to Theosophical Society in Chennai, where she worked for 5-6 years. And presently, Clemice has shifted from Theosophical Society to Tiruvannamalai and is studying Ramana Maharshi's teachings. And she finds them as challenging or as touching as Krishnaji's teaching, and there's quite a bit of similarity between the two teachings. Clemice is going to talk to us today on finding the path. That is the theme of our talk. With these words, I want to extend a very warm welcome to Clemice for accepting our invitation and being with us today for this talk. So thank you, Clemice, and you know the rules of this game, so you can go ahead and speak for as long as you want, but leave 20-25 minutes at least for the question answer session. Yes, Clemice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Dubey, for the invitation and for having me once more. I have been here before. So this topic came to me when I was asked to give a topic because I felt it is somehow it's important because Krishnamurti, he talks about truth is a pathless land. So it's quite difficult to grasp the meaning of what he's saying. And at the same time, we all try to find a path. The spiritual seekers, they are in this search for spirituality, and then this idea of a path, it kind of comes naturally. So I would like to talk a little bit about this, and to talk about finding a path. I will use a lot of my own personal experience in this journey. So not so much about what Krishnamurti said or anybody said, but to talk really about what it means for us who are trying to understand this spiritual search. So to start talking about the finding a path, when I first read Krishnamurti saying, truth is a pathless land, when he says there is no path that can lead you to truth, to me, that sound like a real shock, because somehow I was expecting him to give us some kind of guidance on the path, you know? And then when he says there is no path to take you that can lead you to truth, I felt it was quite shocking. But at the same time, it was that kind of shock that makes you even more interested in what he's going to say. Because I felt if he's saying there is no path, he may have very strong basis for that, you know, because it is going just against the current. I think he was the first person to talk like that. About that, I'm not sure, but as far as I know, he was the first person to talk about this, that there is no path. So this has been a kind of a puzzle in my mind for quite some time. And so I try to understand what he's saying and what everybody's saying, the other teachings, other teachers also. And so I understood some important thing, which is some time ago, I gave a talk in Brazil, and somebody asked me, the talk was about Krishnamurti's statement, there is no path. Truth is a pathless land. And somebody asked me, so that means there is no path, but some people say there are many paths. And so to that, I answered that, you see, there are as many paths as there are people. So in that sense, there are many paths because each person has to find his own path, and the walking makes the path. It is not something that is there pre-established and that you follow, but your own walking, your own discovering, and your own perceptions make the path. So, and then there is another aspect of this whole spiritual search that is important to keep in mind. You see, Krishnamurti, he also says there is no arrival point. We don't arrive anywhere. There is no final destination. So what does that mean? That also means that the whole journey, the human life, the whole journey into spiritual search is about the walk, is about this journey itself. So, and as we walk, we create the path, but the path is something that each one will create his own path. As we walk, the path starts to appear, but it doesn't appear before you step in and before you start walking. So, and every step has to be given into the unknown, which means not in a given proper pathway. It is the discovering. Each step is a new discovery. So in that sense, there are many paths because each one of us creates his unique path, and nobody can follow anybody's footstep. So when I decided to talk about finding the path, means the personal and unique path that each one of us creates as we journey into this self-discovery. Because also, even though the human consciousness is one, the way that consciousness is express itself in everyone's life is unique. So we are all human beings, and in that way we are all the same. But at the same time, each one of us is completely unique. There are not two people alike. So the way we express the human consciousness, even all this, and even the conditionings, they happen in unique ways. So each one of us is unique, and at the same time, we are all made of the same, we function in the same consciousness, in the same pattern of consciousness, which is the self-centered, the egoic way of looking at life. So to come out of this self-centeredness, we try to find a path to follow, no? But when we realize that there is no such thing as a pre-established path, that we can all follow the same footsteps and do the same thing, and we will reach at the same destination, that applies when we want to take up a journey, take up a train, and that train will follow that path and reach the city, the destination. And everything physical in the physical realm that we want to do, we want to go, is like that. But when it comes to the subtle aspect of the human consciousness, when it comes to the inner world, in that area, in that field, there is no such thing as following a path, simply because in that area there is no path possible to be pre-established, which means to do a certain thing and reach a certain place. So because the whole thing is very subtle and it is a journey within, it really cannot be pre-established by anybody, because each one of us, as we start journey with this journey within, we come across so many aspects that we were not aware, aspects of our own personality, of our own way of thinking, way of being, that we were not aware. And we cannot prescribe and tell the person, another person, that that person will find the same. Because in each one of us, and even if the same is there, we may not see it in the same way. We may not have the same kind of perception about it. So when people like Krishnamurti, like Ramana Maharshi, and Buddha, and all these enlightened people, when they talk about that state which lies beyond the thinking process, beyond what they call mind, at that point, when they come to that, when they reach, when they are so clear in their mind that they can look at life without any illusion, without any avoidance of reality, they are able to see the truth. They are able to see reality itself. So to come to that point where there is no illusion, where there is no avoidance of looking directly to life, to what we are, there is no prescription possible to come to that point. The only real sure thing that we can say is that one has to let go all illusions. But then to let go illusions, first we need to know what those illusions are, because normally when we are under the illusions, we don't know that they are illusions. We think they are reality. That's why we hold on to them. That's why it's so hard to let them go. So the first thing is to acknowledge the illusions. And for that, it is really something that nobody can give any kind of prescription and say how it will happen. Because one interesting thing in this whole search for spiritual discovery is that we have, most of us who are in this search, we think that we can perceive truth or reality with the mind. But that is not how it works. You see, Krishnamurti, he emphasized a lot, almost every talk he gave, he talks about the importance of love and the importance of being sensitive, the importance of being able to empathy, to see the suffering in others, to be sensitive to other people's suffering, not only to our own suffering. So when we look, so these are conditions for letting go illusion. So the sure thing that we can see is that we cannot see reality. We are not able to see what is and to see truth with the mind. So to really have the perception, to see reality, we need to awaken the heart. So it is more with an open heart that we will be able to see clearly. So the whole search then is not about finding truth, but it is to find out what is preventing us from seeing truth. And it is about awakening the mechanism that will make us available and possible to see really. So that is not, we can see it with the mind. So it is not through reading books. It is not through listening to explanations. It is not through lectures that we are going to see clearly. So it is, all those things may help, but it will not help us to see. It will help us to enable us to see. So, but that will only help if we look at it in the wrong way. If we don't look at it in the wrong way, I mean, if we are able to look at it as a tool to help us, not as the final destination. Like if I read all Krishnamurti books, if I listen to all his talks, I will understand what he's talking about. That's not how it works. So it seems that it requires a lot of inner awakening, awaken the sensitivity in us to make us able to see and to feel other people's condition, what is going on around us, what is going on in us, the way our mind works, the way we feel. So, and to perceive that we are looking for a destination. So the important thing also is that we can understand that looking for a destination will not take us to that destination. For instance, searching for enlightenment won't give us the real enlightenment. The other day I read one statement that Krishnamurti says. He says, stop seeking, because truth does not come to the seeker. And I kept on thinking about that. And you see, when we are in this state of seeking, the state of our mind will be to look for something all the time, looking for something, expecting to get something, because we are trying to get enlightenment or clarity or whatever name we may give to it. So in that state of mind, the mind is really not open, because we don't really know what enlightenment is, what clarity is. And then the mind is not open to the reality of the thing, but to something that we imagine to be. So we imagine enlightenment is like this. We hear Krishnamurti say something, we hear Ramana Maharshi say something, or we imagine that this is how it happens, this is how an enlightened person behaves. So we have an image about clarity, about a clear mind, about enlightened mind. And we are looking for, when we are seeking, in fact, we are seeking to get that we already imagine to be. But the reality cannot be imagined. The true state of clarity cannot be imagined by the mind that is not clear. So whatever we imagine it to be, it cannot be that. And so when we seek, we are seeking for something that we already imagine. We have an idea about it. So then we think, okay, then if I don't seek, so then for sure I won't get anything, because I am not even seeking. And then immediately our mind goes back to the old pattern of just live our life without seeking, means no interest in any such topic, spiritual topics. But the challenge then becomes, can we be interested in it without seeking or expecting for a result, without expectation? All these years that I have been reading Krishnamurti, that I have been studying Ramana Krishnamurti and many others, I have come across many people who have told me that they have been reading Krishnamurti, and at certain point they gave up because they did not get anything. They did not come to clarity, they did not get enlightenment, they didn't get anything. So when we hear people saying this, instead of judging them, we should look at our own selves, because when we are expecting to get something out of it, disappointment will come for sure. Because this hoping and this expectation itself won't allow anything to happen. That already is a barrier for direct perception. Because whatever we are hoping, it is our own imagination. It's our own projection. So the real challenge in this, let's call it search, is to be able to keep interested without hoping to get a result, without hoping even to become clear someday. No hope, no expectation, no destination, and just be aware of oneself each moment, because that's the only thing we can really do. And just watch our expectations and be honest with ourselves. We don't have to tell other people our state of mind, but be honest with our own selves about our expectations, about our real motive, why we are reading these things. Is it because we are tired of the way we are living, or is it because we want to be great people and give great talks and be, recognized by others, saying, oh, you have so much clarity or whatever? Or is it because we do it because it's just a natural thing for us to do? It's just life. It's just the way we live. It's just a natural. The other day, somebody was telling me about why do we question? Where do we start questioning? How do we question? And after this, I had never thought about this, but then after this person asked me this question, I start thinking, and I realize, you see, when a child is, there is a certain age that children start questioning. And when a child starts questioning, that child questions out of pure curiosity. It's natural for her. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't understand how the world works, how things work, and she questions. So for us, we think we know, and from that knowledge, we start questioning. So that question won't really work for us, because it has to be a genuine thing. It has to be a genuine curiosity. It has to be a genuine question, in the sense, a real puzzle. Why is this like that? Why is it not different? So I feel sometimes, because we heard Krishnamurti saying it's important to question, we start questioning without even having real, sincere interest in that. We just question for the sake of wanting to get something from this. It becomes a kind of a habit. of questioning. So discovering the path is this, it's quite fun, like Krishnamurti used to say, it's quite fun, because as you start to understand that there is no destination, that the whole life of a human being is not about reaching a destination. It is about the walk itself. It is about the day-to-day living. So when we understand that and stop chasing a result, I think that's the moment when we really start discovering the path. And that's the moment when we really start walking the path of, and also when we discover that the whole journey is not about the world, is not about changing the world, is not about saving the world. It has nothing to do with the world. It is all about our own self, the way we function in this world, the way we look at the world, the way we see the world will define the way we act in the world. So the way we see the world is really, if we change that, then we change the whole thing. And to perceive the world, we need the mind. So the state of the mind is very important in this whole thing. Means if we are hoping for a result, that will define the way we will act. Because then the result becomes all important. And not the journey. And not the people around us. Then our mind will be focused, and anything that may hinder my result to come, I start to avoid. I don't like, I don't want people who distract me, who talk too much and this and that. So I start to create lots of, how can I say, judgments about what will help me to get my result and what will hinder me. So the things that won't help me, I don't want to be involved. So we start to define how life should be. And in that, we lose the opportunity to really walk this path with open heart, just watching, just observing my reaction to everything, the way my mind works, the expectations I have about people, this whole idea of perfection that we think, which is also related to the whole idea of having an ideal way of life. There is no such thing as an ideal way of life. There is only the life we are able to live, you know, because we are a certain way. We can only live in that certain borders. So to talk about freedom, this freedom that Krishnamurti talks about, it is complete freedom from everything. It's complete freedom from, the mind cannot be attached to anything, any idea, any ideal, any belief, any national or racial superiority or inferiority. So none of this can be there, really, truly. So to understand that, first of all, to understand that to come to that state of mind, to have such a mind, to operate from such a mind, the first thing is to realize that we don't have such a mind. That our mind is completely different from this. To realize what is preventing our mind from being free. And not to chase a free mind. Because a mind that is in bondage, that has created lots of barriers and has created a kind of a box in which it hides itself and feels protected in it, this mind chasing freedom, it is quite silly, really. So that mind cannot be free, because it is not something that mind will reach, you know. So that mind has to completely break the barriers in which that she itself build around itself. And to break those barriers, first we have to see them and realize and accept that they are there, and not justify them, saying, no, but this is how, you know, everybody is like that. Yeah, everybody is like that. But then we are not satisfied with that kind of thing anymore, you know? Because we have heard there is a state of mind that is free from all this. And then we also have to be honest and know that we don't know what that state is going to be. We are really jumping in the dark, because the state of that mind that is completely free, we don't know how it is. Sometimes we want enlightenment, we want freedom, we want all these things because somewhere we have heard that it is bliss, means eternal bliss, never again sad, never again bored, never again any of these things. But we don't know. We have heard this, but we don't know. So that is also one important thing, that we have to be honest about what we are looking for. The ideas that we have about this state of mind. So I feel it is, for me, what was really important was when I came to India, I was a person who had started reading Krishnamurti, and I was very, very much passionate. I am, about Krishnamurti and his teachings. And but then there was a problem, because I had this idea, only Krishnamurti knows, nobody else. Now Krishnamurti, you know, Christians, they say only Jesus save. Yeah, so I was having the same idea, only Krishnamurti knows. And then after coming to India, I learned that he knows, all right, but there are other people who may also know. So, and starting to read Ramana Maharshi and started to read Nisargadatta Maharaj and others, I realized that everything helps. And most importantly, what really helps is not to be stuck with one philosophy always, because it creates also a pattern in our mind. If we start reading only Krishnamurti, that also starts creating patterns in our mind. So to really try to understand other philosophies and navigate in other areas is also important. That's my personal feeling, and it has helped me. In fact, that was one of the things that I needed to acknowledge in myself, this whole idea that now only Krishnamurti, 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 which is not good. Nothing that creates this, this is also a bondage, you know. It's an identification. It is just you just stretch your ego a bit more. And then you think you have done a great thing, but in fact, it is all the same. So for me, that has helped a lot to really go into Ramana Maharshi's teachings, and the people who read Ramana Maharshi and talk to them, listen to them, to see, you know, because to see how the human mind behaves. So my love for Krishnamurti never changed, and it won't change at all. But to be able to love him without having all this attachment to, you know, only him, only him. That was something that it was really important for me. So I think with this, we can start the question and answers and the comments that somebody also want to contributing with.
Okay, thank you, Clemice. Very well spoken. I think when Krishnaji says that truth has no path, what he basically means that nobody can lead us to the truth, because truth is something that comes into being only when we know the art of listening, seeing, where there is love and compassion, as you mentioned, which has its own intelligence. So basically, he's saying that don't obey, have a free mind, as you have mentioned. And Krishnaji never said that this is a teaching or this is the step or this is what you have to do. He only said, look at yourself, read yourself. Because how do you define truth? Because truth is not static. If I can say in a sentence, it is something like seeing things as they are without distortion. And freedom, as you mentioned, has a great significance in Krishnaji's teachings, which is not freedom from anything, but freedom from the self. It's basically this: you want to be able to see something, your mind must be free from all your ideas, your conditioning, your viewpoints. Not that it becomes completely empty, but at least it's not disturbing your seeing. You're able to see things as they are. So I think you have covered very well, Clemis. And I don't know, I've not read about other teachers, but there must be truth in it, because otherwise, how would so many people go and follow them? So I think basically we can agree on one thing, that there is no path to truth, but there are many paths which can lead to it. So that would be perhaps a closed statement to what you have been talking about. I think some hands are raised. I'll request Harshad Bhai to make a comment. Yes, Harshad Bhai, please unmute yourself.
Yes, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you, Clemice, and thank you, Dubeyji. Whatever Clemice said, I feel the same way, that there is, when we talk about going from one station to another station, like Delhi or Mumbai, there are many paths, but we are not talking about going outside, but inside. And I would say that the first time I became curious to look inward was after reading the book of Krishnamurti, when I read that thought creates the thinker, the sense of I or me, and then this me wants to change thought. So there is a duality between thinker and thought. And Krishnaji said that all our problems of psychological nature is coming from this duality. So I had read Upanishad, of course, and Ramakrishna and many other people when I was in college. But reading the first book of Krishnamurti, I came across this sentence that thought creates the thinker, and then thinker tries to change thought. So there is a duality, and that duality is the cause of all our psychological problems. So when I read that, it made me curious to look at the beginning of a thought. And so, with all curiosity, with all attention, I tried to look at the beginning of a thought, and there was nothing coming. The mind became silent, And it was not a frightening thing. It was really a very strange experience that our senses can function, but the mind is not there. So the first, this feeling that there is nothing actually when the mind is silent, only our senses are working, and in that there are no problems. And so this became very, very interesting. Every time I would try to catch the beginning of a thought and the mind becoming silent, and that, and if any thought era comes, that thought can be seen clearly in that state of attention, which Krishna ji calls choiceless awareness. So when this choiceless awareness or intelligence is awakened, it can see the thoughts exactly as they are. And it doesn't create many complications in our life. And that is why Krishna ji says there is nothing to achieve in this field, only to see what is, not even to gather knowledge of Krishna ji's teachings and then speaking from that knowledge, but looking at what is within us and moving with it. And that is the real freedom, because in moving with what is, there is no what should be. So there is no conflict. So if you, anything which comes, you see as it is, and you don't change it, try to change it, because then there's a duality has happened. So this very simple way Krishna ji talked about, and that this first step is probably the last step when we begin to observe our thoughts, feelings as they are. And when there is a maturity in this looking, then some changes begin to happen in the body and the brain, in the eyes. And then we really begin to see things also very, very clearly, whether it is a tree or a human being or a bird. And everything becomes very, very interesting to just observe, not to think about it, not to write about it, not to gather knowledge about it. So just looking and not thinking, not trying to understand, and that state is really, there's only looking. And in that, there is no destination, nothing to achieve, only to live that way. And that I would consider a real freedom. And what Clemice said about illusion, and it seems to me that as long as a person has illusion, cannot see that there is illusion. Only when something happens and a person goes into kind of a suffering, before the person thinks that he is free, and then some kind of thing happens and suffering comes, then a person knows that there was illusion. Otherwise, as long as there is the illusion, the person doesn't know. Similarly, we human beings carry lots of problems on in our mind, and we are not aware of it, and we think that everything is fine. Everybody is carrying the problem. But one day, when that problem goes away, it's like a carrying a burden. When that burden is drops, then we know that we were carrying a lot of problems. So as long as this awakening has not happened in our life, choiceless looking at what is without creating the conflict, duality, then the problems will continue. Then there will be then there will be reading too much about other people, whether it is Krishnamurti or Raman Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj, that reading will go on. But when this reading of our own life happens, then there is no need to read any other philosopher, and we can see clearly what is happening. But yet, it is good to read other people, and we can if we can understand Krishnamurti, we can also understand Upanishad or Zen Buddhism, because underneath they are telling the same thing, that as long as this self exists, thinking exists, we cannot really see things as they are. So the freedom from knowledge, freedom from the known, that is what this search or this path is about, freedom from the known. Okay, I have said enough thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. We'll go to Dinesh Waghmare. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Very interesting subject, sir, today's. How to find the path, finding the path. So, actually, what do we mean by the path? What do we mean by the path? Path means what? A route, a course or track along which something moves, a course of action, conduct or procedure, process. Now, we have to see here, conduct is also coming into the picture. And we talk of no path, or truth is a pathless land, or many paths. But have we gone through the paths? What do they include, or what they are saying, what is inherent in them? Have we studied? Actually, if we see the Buddha Eightfold Path, here we will see. But prior to that, I would like to say that all paths starts from the morals and ethics. You have to follow certain practices of this right conduct and all that, and you have to follow some rules of ethics and morals. Even if you talk of JK, then also in the exploration into insight and traditional revolution, he said, when he was asked about the Kundalini, he said, you live immoral life and you talk of Kundalini. How we can discuss about that? So morals and ethics, these are the starting points. Say, for example, we talk of Buddha Eightfold Path. Right understanding, right thought. What are the Four Noble Truths? This includes right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So right, and all the, if you go into go deep into this, you will find that they starts from the morals and ethics. Patanjali says yam and niyam, asan. So that is also again ethics and morals, yam and niyam. Then we go to Vipassana. It was for the initially it was only for the monks. So monks means again there are rules and regulations. If we go to Bhakti Marg, which is for the emotional persons. If we see there, again morals and ethics are the starting points. If we go to Gyan Marg or this thing, then again morals and ethics are the starting points. If we go to Karma Marg, then also the same thing. If you go to Tantra, even Tantra also, if you consider the right hand Tantra and Kulachar, same thing we find there also. Means right conduct, all puja and etc. and all are covered in this. So starting point is morals and ethics. There is change in expression, there is some differences, but basically they start from moral and ethics. The difference is coming because of the different time period. For the different time period, what was the main, what thing was the main needed. Then second point, they talk of body fitness. Every mark talks of body fitness, food habits, etc. This is all required. Even if you consider JK, then also this cleansing of the body and purification of the mind. These two things are the prominent things. So cleansing of Krishnamurti himself was doing all the asanas, all your pranayam and all that. So these we see that second point that comes is body fitness and habits. This also again you will find in all the paths. In the expressions are different, but they are same. Then third is they use a particular instrument. See, our body, whole body system consists of body, then breathing, then your senses, then your intellect, then emotions and feelings. So what is the traits in a particular person? What are his inclinations? What are his likings? What are the parameters, psychological parameters? What are the virtues? According to that, he chooses a particular path. Say, for example, again, as soon as he chooses the path, these points are covered, whatever I am saying. If you go further, now we take the examples. Say, for example, for strong body persons and all that, and Hatha Yoga was prescribed. Then for asana and this experience in Siddhi persons, Raj Yoga was prescribed. Means Patanjali Yoga Sutra is basically Raj Yoga. Or even if you talk of Buddha Marg, that is also Raj Yoga. Then for emotional persons, Bhakti Marg was prescribed. For karma prominent persons, right karma, which is surrendered to God. So that was prescribed. Then Tantra uses mantra and yantra. Yantra is basically nothing but a map, and according to that map, he follows the rules and regulations and with a particular technique, which is Tantra, and moves in a particular direction. So what is that direction? What is that direction? That we will discuss. The difference here is coming only up to reaching a particular level of preparation, and then all paths becomes complementary to each other and ultimately become one. In case these all paths are basically based on iti, whereas JK is talking na iti. Both are accepted in Vedas, and this thing means first in Veda they say Sarva Kalvid Brahma, means whatever is available in the world or universe, everything has been created by the one particular we can say element, or you name it, anything, but that entity has made all this, or this all universe is made up of that entity's portions only. That's what Ved says. So these are all paths are iti. Why it is iti? Because everybody has got, most of the people, 90% people are having 90 or more than 90%. They are having attraction towards the world. So they are supposed to do all the worldly tasks and follow some guidelines to go into a particular direction. Whereas in JK, naiti means negation. That is the path of negation, we can say. So if I dare use say the word path, it is a negation. So negation means you are choicelessly aware and negating everything. Negating means in such a way that should not arise, that demand or desire or whatever it is, whatever that thought related to any particular aspect, that should not arise. That was in the JK's teachings. So what is the main aim in all the issue, all of this paths and even JK teaching? The main aim is to touch the other dimension, and in the process freedom from sanskars and past karma. Now we call it conditioning. They call it past karma and sanskars, whereas JK calls it conditioning, old conditioning, all. So you have to do the first purification of the mind.
Dinesh, will you make it short, because
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
know,
Only
you have,
only two
you have,
minutes. Only 2 minutes.
no, you have great information that you are conveying. It's very nice. But I think we should restrict to what Clemice's theme was, finding the
It
path.
was
Now,
it was,
you
I think,
compare it
finding
with
the path.
Buddhism
No, so
and
we have to
Sanatan
understand what
Dharma
is
and
the
all
path.
that
No, I
becomes
will
little
take only
too
2 minutes,
heavy.
sir. I will take only 2 minutes now.
Okay, please make it brief.
Okay. Now, when we uh, say for example, bhakti, is it available in JK or teachings or not? Yes, it is available. How? So when we club sensitivity, love, compassion, consistency, persistence. This covers bhakti. Even you see, indirectly we say JK said this, JK said, we are very much fascinated by the JK this thing, and we always take the name of JK. That itself is a bhakti, basically. So we have to see what we are doing and not go on the theoretical values given to it. Clemice said that there is no aim. Clemice said that only the path is important, there is no aim or there is no end to it. But if we go into deep, then in JK also there is in all other marks there is an end, that is the touching the other dimension and freedom, nirvana or whatever you call it. And here also in JK, he says transformation of mind, mutation and freedom. So freedom comes in JK teachings also, and touching the other dimensions, this comes in JK teachings also, and he talks about mutation and transformation. So what is that? It is automatically it becomes end, isn't it? And this is basically a change in the state of being. This is basically a change in the state of being of a person. Thank you, sir. Right now I want to submit this much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Verma Sahab.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Of course, Clemice has covered almost everything differently, in different words, different space and distance. Then Harshad Parekh also, whatever was left and his personal journey, he talked about it. But Dubey gave a very befitting thing about that this truth is a pathless land means that you cannot depend on anyone or anything. Wonderful. You see, this is the gist. This is the gist. Of course, Dinesh has given a big historical account of spiritual searches and different people, how they, whether they achieved it or not, I don't know. I cannot say anything about those people and those paths, so-called paths, which we are trying to glamorize in a way. But few points, few questions came to me, and then small, just I'll take 5 minutes. Finding the path, a very beautiful subject. Every word suggests something, some meaning. The reason words have become so very important in our life, if not all. In today's topic, 2 words, finding and path, speak a lot to me. Finding there is obviously someone behind who has some idea about the path to recognize it when that moment comes. Focusing in the unknown almost, but having some idea, listening to the reading, all that, whatever it is. Then the word path suggests some space, length, an associated time for the person looking for the path, some sort of measurement you find here, a property of the mind. JK became free with these parting words, truth is a pathless land, 1929. Then he emphasized on moment-to-moment awareness. We may call that point that point as path in timelessness. Now, I will just quote 4 lines from J.K. J.K. said, separation between God or reality and yourself is brought about by you, by the mind that clings to the known, to certainty, to security. It is division in yourself, conflict of opposing desires, polarities, and all those things. Then Dinesh asked this very question, because there is no consensus on the word path. As you said, that nobody can give it to you means you are coming back to the uniqueness in each one of us, having some light of our own. So it means path must also be unique. But somehow they meet somewhere, unicity. Ultimately, this so-called multiplicity meets to some unicity. All of them through divergence here and there and the differences, but they come to the same point. Means there is something which can be called path. By me, if you ask me what is my path, although I have not thought about it as if there is a path for me. You see, I live my daily life 24/7, whatever it is, meeting the challenges with the best of my ability, my resources, and tackling it, this thing. Another question was, when everything is changing, the question of some path, how do we imagine a path when everything is changing, including myself? So that is one thing. So every moment is that reality. Every moment is the truth. Every moment is truth, and truth changes. So am I. So, of course, Dinesh gave a very elaborate historical account, because emphasizing the role of path somewhere in some people. I don't know how they got it, whether they got it or not, whether it has worked in their life. Clemice has taken a path from Brazil to Chennai, to JK, from theosophy to JK, and from JK to Ramana ultimately, who says, who are you? Just find out who are you. So ultimately, everything comes back to me. So this is, we have to realize earlier the better that it is all my game in me, and everything is in me, out of me. Thank you very much, friends. I think I have taken more than 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Srinivasreddy, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. Truth has no path. Path, if anyone has a path, it is a dead thing. So truth is not a dead thing. That's why it has no paths. Thank you, sir. That's it I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Prasad Garu, please unmute yourself.
Namaste, sir, to everybody. This is, Madam has done a great job. Truth has no path. That is one statement. When we say truth has no path, most people say all paths lead to Rome. Saying there is no path to Rome is quite different from saying all paths lead to Rome. We are not on that subject that all paths lead to Rome. It is just a kind of appeasement. If you are strict in your approach and you are not interested in appeasing anybody, then you have to say there is no path to Rome at all. Nothing leads to Rome. You may reach Rome, but not by following a particular path, not even your own path. Because your experience is also from the past, and what JK suggests, to my understanding, is that you live from moment to moment, live with alertness, with consciousness, because most of the time we are unconscious of our own actions, of our own relationships, everything. So have an open mind, have a alert mind, a supple mind, not a mind that is bound to a belief or ideology or opinion or anything like that. That is the approach of JK as per my understanding. And to say that everybody, there are many others thinking that K is the only light is not correct. That is what Madam has said ultimately at the end, that it is a kind of obsession, a narrow mind. Krishnamurti also can make you narrow. If you think only K is the real teacher. But point is, Krishnamurti has ultimately said you observe your own mind. He has not said that you read me or you follow me or anything like that. Ultimately, he said, you read your own mind. And when he talks of freedom, we see our own narrowness, our own self-centeredness, etc. All of us basically suffer from the self-centered activity. We are not free of that. Every moment, every movement, they show this thing, that I am not free. And by approaching through this scholarly methods, by reading Vedas, Upanishads, and all these things, you are diluting the freedom given to you by K. He says, don't bother about anything. Bother only about yourself, your own mind. And that obviously is a freedom. Sir, if you see the millions of people going to some temple, or the millions of going to those Muslim sacred places in Arabia and all that, when you see all that, is it not really madness? Why don't we acknowledge that? The problem is we don't acknowledge that, whether it is Christian mob or Hindu mob or Islamic mob. They're all mobs going by a laid down path. They are following a path. And that path, God knows where it leads. Historically, it has created conflicts only in the world. They have not created any peace or... And Krishnaji says, you see that you are part of humanity. You share that humanity. We don't share that humanity. I am Prasad, that is all. I am not Prasad, the human. I am Prasad, an Andhraite, and so many other identities. So, the way we read Krishnamurti, I read Krishnamurti is to see whether any statement made by him is correct or not. You examine his statements and reject if you think there is no truth in that statement. Any of those statements, we're all familiar with them. That self is, when the self is not there, the other is, for example. What does it mean? We examine those statements, the observer and the observed. That is all that is required. Not, we don't have to take Krishnaji as the final authority. Nobody is an authority. You yourself are not an authority. Because your experience is the past and it has no meaning. Don't be bound to it. So, I don't like to dilute Krishnaji because he says, what is you? Your individuality itself is a kind of artificial thing. Nobody else has said that possibly, or at least in those clear terms. Anyway, I am not familiar with any of those people, but many times, if you go to Gita, it starts with your Atman. Where is the Atman? It is only a supposition. It has no objective existence. I know I have thoughts, but I don't know that I have an Atman inside me. Thank you, sir. That's all.
Thank you, Prasad Garu. Thank you. I think two words which create lots of confusion when we read Krishnamurti is path and effort. Because we feel that without a path, how do I reach any place? Because we want to reach someplace. That's the way we have been living our life. Similarly, effort. Without effort, how you do it? I mean, to pass an exam, you have to make effort. To reach one place from another, you have to make effort. But I remember, Krishna used to say in his talks that the purpose of my talk is same as the purpose of establishing these schools. There is no difference at all. And talking to teachers, he used to say that you must see that the children develop physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Like, they must eat well, they must exercise, nobody should bully them, they must be with nature, sit quietly, watch their thoughts. Now, if you want to call it path, it's okay. But Dinesh used the word preparation. I personally prefer that word because, unless you are honest, unless you are sincere, unless you are compassionate, what is the spirituality? You can read Krishnamurti, you can become a lecturer or professor of Krishnamurti teachings, but nothing happens to your life. Like everybody said, I think you have to start from where you are. You have to look at yourself, your thoughts, how you treat people, how you behave in your daily living. That is more important than collecting, intellectual information. I mean, that's what we all do because it's easy to do that. But that doesn't take anywhere. But if you start looking at yourself, take any conditioning and observe it like Harshad Bhai said, choicelessly, without condemning it or appreciating it, and see how it loosens its grip. It happens in our daily life. So I'll say that Krishnaji is so easy to understand, at the same time very difficult to follow. And Krishnaji never said that you do what I'm saying. He said, sir, test it in your daily life. If you find it true, it's your teaching. It's not my teaching. Nobody can say so simply as he said to us. So where is the path needed to understand Krishnamurti? I don't understand this. We'll go to Mr. Adeen first and then to Dinesh briefly and to Pradeep ji briefly. Yes. Please unmute yourself. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Clemice, uh, for expressing what you think Krishnamurti meant by truth. Truth is a pathless land. While listening to you, I felt that you were speaking directly from your heart, as you say, and it was not an intellectual understanding. So, thank you for that. I think you covered very beautifully what is meant by pathless. In a way, what I felt was that what I got was living and path. I mean, pathlessness. I mean, that is the same thing. You cannot separate the two. So it's like, as you said, a step into the unknown from moment to moment, because that is what living is. It's a discovery of the unknown, whether of yourself. You may not know something, and then you discover something by seeing and listening and perceiving, or like what we have here in the group. When I'm listening to other people, I'm discovering something which I did not know. But if when I'm listening, I am trying to make some conclusion or something. I'm trying to seek. I want to develop a path through some verbal understanding. So it does not help when we are having a discussion. So that is the difference. Like thought is trying to seek some comfort, some pattern of living, something which it can repeat tomorrow or after this discussion to implement, and trying to form a path, and it doesn't seem to work. Or there is a direct listening to what others are saying, and in that listening I am discovering what they are saying, and there is nothing to carry because it is the same path as living. For example, a child is born, or it can be a 90-year-old person. Both of them have the ability to perceive, listen, see. So where is the path in listening? There is no path. When you are born also, you have the capacity to listen and to see. And just before you die also, you have the capacity to listen and see. So I don't know anything about enlightenment or anything. So the listening is the same as living to me. And that is, say, the pathless path, you can say. It's not separate from living. So thank you for that. I think it was quite beautiful. Thank you.
May I just say something? See, when you say something very, very important, in fact, because I feel that when we try to define a path, we create something that is disconnected from our living. We say, I am living, but that's not good enough. I need a path to reach somewhere. So then we create all these paths, and we separate it from our daily living, from our life. And then I behave in certain way, which I will not behave if I don't enter that path. So what Krishnamurti is saying is, life is for real, is for believed in every day, every moment. It is not something that you separate. And then you say, here I behave like that, in this path I behave like that, in that path I behave like that, and in daily life I behave differently. So I think that's another aspect that's very important. When I said that the end, what really matters is the journey, is the walk, is the living, is the way we live, is the way we look at life, the way we behave in life, the way we feel. That's the important thing. But if we separate all this into a path, then it becomes somehow artificial, because we put on that idea here, then I should behave like this, I should behave like that. But I should doesn't matter. The thing is, how do I really behave? That's the real challenge. What I really feel, not what I should feel. You know, I'm angry most of the time. People irritate me. And then I said, no, I should not be irritated because that's not very spiritual. And I want to be a spiritual person, so I should not be irritated. But the fact remains, I'm irritated. And people irritate me. So I stop dealing with facts and I enter into some fantasy of should be. And I think in this, we miss a lot of opportunities. And we become frustrated and we become unhappy and we become neurotic, really. Because as we go into these things, we lose more and more the capacity to deal with reality, with what really is happening. We lose ourselves in this world of should be.
Thank you, Clemice. We have just 4 minutes. So I can give 2 minutes each to Dinesh ji and Dr. Verma.
What I would like to say, if we see in spirituality, we have to see what are our hurdles and what are our our impediments. Suppose in life I am facing some issues, so I have to address that. No, in such discussions I may get some pointers, and till I address that, say for example any conditioning or any issue, unless I get freedom, till the time I get freedom, I have to follow some do's and don'ts, isn't it? Suppose I'm having financial problem, then I have to take some help from somebody, or I'm having relationship problem, then I have to take help from somebody. So when we are in relationship and there is any issue, unless we got the freedom, we have to take some steps to tackle that. Now he was saying, Mr. Prasad sir was saying that all these people are mad who are going in temple and mosque and all that. See, what does that do? If they do some mantra or this thing, chanting of mantra and all that, they get energy there. Whenever you, suppose I am facing a lot of fear and lot of other this thing, unless I am free by, say, by the teachings of Krishnamurti or this thing, but till the time I am free, what should I do? I should take some help. If I go to any mandir, I get a peace there. Why? Because there are some vibrations there, which are made by the mantra and all that. So that helps me. So I have to take the help, isn't it?
Got your point.
Similarly, this Mr. Adeen was saying that path means what? Path means all these things which you have to take care of yourself, and you have to tackle your individuality. JK has again and again said you have to tackle your individuality, and that will decide your path. Thank you.
Dinesh, I just want to mention a statement. I mean, I heard Krishnaji talking to teachers in Rajghat, and one teacher got up and said, "Sir, how can I talk about anger because I get angry myself? So how can I discuss anger with the students?" And Krishnaji said, "Sir, that's the time you should talk about it, when you get angry." Now, suppose I don't get freedom, so should I stop talking about freedom? Or should I go on living my life the way I am and wait, well, someday I'll perhaps get freedom? I have to look at myself and accept that I'm not free and see the effect. That is how we start. I'll just give a minute to Dr. Pradeep Verma and close the session. Yes, Pradeep ji.
This all is possible looking into yourself and everything. If you are, that word Harshad Parekh frequently uses is choiceless awareness. If you are choicelessly aware about yourself, so that big condition of choicelessness is there for anything of this type to get benefit of. then we have centuries old conditioning. We have centuries old conditioning full of choices. You see, some for pleasure, some for survival. So these choices are there, and who can deny it that I don't have choices? We have. But at the moment of seeing something, because Prasad ji also talked about this follow your mind. This following is a very dangerous stuff. Your mind, unless until I am choicelessly aware, nothing, because all are following their mind only. You see, all are following their mind only and thinking that this is what Clemice talked about when illusion is taken as a reality, because we are conditioned, heavily conditioned. But that doesn't mean that you can't free from yourself. You can be. That is the note that is always there. Light unto yourself. We all have that light, and thank you very much, friends. I've taken one more than one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Clemens. It was a wonderful talk. It raised so many questions, and I hope we get some understanding, maybe become wiser, perhaps. With these words, I thank you once again. Maybe we'll call you once again sometimes in near future and let you talk for some more time. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good night.